I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening. Tonight, I'm filling in for President Riley, who is currently away participating in a U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals case. So we wish Mr. Riley good luck with that. I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Penn-Harris Board of School Trustees on Monday, December 11th. Our first item of business is the adoption of the agenda. And we do have one visitor that signed up to speak on this. Jeff, help me out. This is where they would speak before we vote to adopt the agenda. Yes. So, Ben Dallas. Ben, before you speak, I just want to read a brief statement. Expecting a quorum for members of the public who signed up to speak on this agenda item. In the interest of orderly discourse, I am going to read instructions that will apply to any guest who wishes to address the board. If you intend to address the board tonight, please listen carefully. At regular meetings, the public is invited to address the board on general topics under hearing of visitors. A time limit of 3 minutes is enforced by our board attorney, and he will let you know his time is expiring. It is requested that the names and address be stated before such comments. Individuals may speak only once during this section. Please understand personnel issues are absolutely to not be addressed during open session of the board. PHM is an employer and must comply with our own policies as well as various laws that protect employment privacy of its employees. These laws are designated to treat all employees fairly and to allow thorough reviews of matter as the board would ultimately be a potential educator in future discipline action. Please use orderly and appropriate language and volume when addressing the board. Also, this is an opportunity for members to address the board. Please refrain from directing your remarks to other members in the public who are in attendance tonight. The board does not respond to questions or comments posted during hearing of the visitors. Ben, the floor is yours. Mr. Dallas, sorry. The floor is yours.
So, good evening, board members, Mr. Garrett, Mr. Chaffee, board members. It's great to be back. I guess I temporarily have my freedom of speech returned. I like it. So until something else starts, but I'm here to offer 2 ideas for agenda items. Okay, the first one, I'd like to request that we do a holiday for September 20th. That was the day that the school politically targeted me, I guess, for being a whistleblower and exercising free speech. So let's make that, let's instead encourage free speech, okay, at the school. Let's encourage free speech for everybody. I actually had a meeting with Ryan about 3 weeks ago, Mr. McCullough. And one thing we agreed on in our meeting was more speech, more dialogue, more conversation is helpful. Okay, more, we both talked about that. So more, I guess, communication. It always brings about more positive things. When there's less communication, when people aren't being heard, then you got more negative things that come out. So I would like September 20th to be a freedom of speech day. I think it would be great for the students if we could do like a town hall style discussion, get everybody involved, hear all points of view, no matter what the topic is, especially topics that aren't fun to discuss. Let's get everybody's perspective, okay? The next thing, okay, I would request the superintendent write another letter to the families. He did this once, I think, after January 6th. Let's do it now instead for what happened in Israel on October 7th. That was horrible, right? The problem with that is anti-Semitism is now going national. It's almost being mainstreamed. Okay, I think we should have a statement to let Jewish families know that we got their back, that we don't accept anti-Semitism at PHM. We owe, I think, our students a real statement. This was done after January 6th. I guess it was compared to some things I disagree with. I don't think January 6th, the protests, had anything to do with the students at this school. But I do think what happened on October 7th, That does have stuff to do with students at this school. So let's have a statement. Let's let the students know that we got their back. It's been 2 months. Let's do the right thing. Let students know that they're safe here. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Dallas. Board members, do you have any additions or changes to the agenda for Monday, December 11th, 2023 regular board meeting?
I do.
I recognize you, Mr. Chaffee.
President Riley stated last meeting on November 27th, his words, not mine, consequences have occurred. This is in regard to a parent who had been banned. I'm pleased that he too in that meeting finally stated publicly that he is wanting to hold people accountable. Seeing that, I'm making a motion to add my press release. Take a second. There's 4 copies. Can you pass that a little bit to the other board members? So what I am passing to them is the press release that I sent out to all local media on November 29th. My fellow board colleagues, 4 of them here tonight, received this also later that morning on November 29th, when I specifically forwarded the press release to the St. Joseph County Prosecutor, Ken Cotter. I copied each one of them on that email. In that press release, I stated PHM School Corporation leadership potentially committed illegal and unethical actions initiated by the PHM Board of School Trustees, President Chris Riley, Vice President Ryan McCullough, and Superintendent Dr. Jerry Thacker. This request comes as perceived political retaliation is being taken against the parent of the PHM School Corporation. This parent's basic civil rights have potentially been violated. He's been ostracized in the community by leaders within the school corporation who are refusing to tell the public why. Now, school corporation leadership appears to be threatening members of the school board with felony charges for simply questioning the investigation into this parent. Background info. On September 19th, a ruling by the Department of Education Office of Civil Rights determined the PHM School Corporation violated the civil rights of middle school students based on race and sex. This ruling was a direct result of an investigation stemming from a complaint by a PHM parent. The following day, PHM administrator sent that parent a no trespassing order banning him from all school property, including virtually attending any school board meeting. The no trespass order erroneously claimed the parent threatened gun violence against the president of the school board, Chris Riley. The parent posted a video to YouTube with multiple satire clips from the movies Cobra and The Matrix. While the memes were obviously satire, with one showing Chris Riley dodging words, not bullets, the St. Joseph County Police Department still conducted an investigation. On October 5th, the St. Joseph County Police Department closed the case without finding any criminal act or intent, listing it as a non-criminal civil incident. During this time, however, the parent faced further retaliation from members of the board, particularly the Vice President of the school board, Ryan McCullough, who sent a message to the parent's employer in what appears to be an attempt to get him fired from his private sector job. This parent has 4 children in the PHM school district. The actions taken by the vice president were a direct attempt to harm PHM children. A copy of that message is attached to this release. Nearly 2 months later, this parent is still banned from school grounds with no real explanation as to why. Remember, this was on November 29th. This parent's no trespass order was rescinded days after this press release. It is important to note the parent in question had filed multiple successful legal complaints against the PHM School Corporation for violating the law. Earlier this year, PHM was found to be in violation of Indiana open door laws because of the action of school board president Chris Riley. That finding also stemmed from a complaint filed by this same parent. After countless inquiries from school board member Matt Chaffee and eventually pressure from at least one state legislator, the board was randomly sent an email from St. Joseph County Sheriff Bill Redmond claiming his department had reopened the investigation into this parent. The email did not contain the name of the investigating detective and did not give the board members any way to verify these claims. This is all very concerning due to the fact that Sheriff Bill Redmond went against standard norms of nonpartisan school board elections and publicly endorsed Chris Riley during his re-election campaign to the PHM Board of School Trustees last fall. The parent in question also has been extremely visible and critical of the sheriff himself. What adds to this is that Sheriff Redmond also endorsed Matt Chaffee's opponent during the same election, and Chaffee is now being threatened with potential felony charges for simply questioning the merits of any further investigation, which is preventing the parent from attending any school functions. Superintendent Jerry Thacker has also made claims that the St. Joseph County prosecutor is investigating the parent. However, inquiries from Chaffee and others to the prosecutor's office concluded no such investigation exists. A request for an investigation. To be clear, Chaffee is not attempting to interfere with any investigation. On the contrary, his only concern is that PHM avoids any real or perceived conflict of interest. Chaffee has already reached out to investigators with the state police, and he's calling on the rest of his colleagues on the board and the superintendent to join him in requesting the state police take over the investigation. The pertinent question that needs to be answered is what happened after the case was closed to cause the sheriff to reopen this investigation. PHM's culture revolves around the triangle of success, which includes students, teachers, and parents. It is my view that PHM is harming both students and parents with potential violations of basic civil rights. That concluded my press release. If nothing nefarious happened here, we should all embrace this act of transparency. I move that my press release be added to the agenda and we take a vote on having a third-party, non-biased investigation to get the answers this community deserves. Keep this in mind. If any of my fellow board members vote no, ask yourself, why wouldn't they want to know those answers? And I will ask that it's a roll call vote. Thank you.
All right, I recognize,
You think I do that roll call vote? Does that sound right?
well, it needs a second. Is there a second to get this, I'm just trying to have it phrased, the request for assistance email and press release added to the tonight's agenda?
Do you want me to restate specifically what I'm requesting?
Well,
What is the request? I move that my press release be added to the agenda and we take a vote on having a third-party, non-biased investigation to get the answers this community deserves.
couldn't have said it better myself, thank you. Do I have a second for adding that to tonight's agenda?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor vote aye.
I think it
Roll
needs to be
call.
roll
Oh,
call.
sorry, Claire.
Yeah.
Good call.
So Mr. Garrett, how do you
Aye.
vote? Mr. McCullough, how do you vote?
Nay.
Mrs. Sullivan, how do you vote? Nay. Mr. Chaffee, how do you vote?
Aye.
How do I vote, Mrs. Roach?
Mrs. Roach, how do you vote?
Nay.
Motion fails by a vote of 3-2.
A point of order question here. It seemed to me like he was actually presenting two motions, trying to. One motion was to get the press release on. Yet the second motion should have been to have the investigation conducted, find out why the sheriff Redmond got involved, and no one knows why. So basically the question is, why was Redmond involved? Why did he, after it was closed by the first investigation, why did Redmond get involved? I think that's the big question I know it's on a lot of people's minds. So if we can just get the answer to that, that might, clear things up a little bit. But in absence of having that information put out, you want that investigation to find out why, since no one's going to tell us.
Understood.
Is that right?
And that was the vote we just took.
That was the vote we just
Three
took.
members voted no against that.
Oh,
So.
stand correct.
Any further board?
I appreciate you clarifying that for anyone that might
Any
not.
further board members have any additions or changes to the agenda for Monday, December 11th, 2023 regular board meeting?
Yes, I have one more.
I recognize you, Mr. Chaffee.
Thank you. I move to add a vote on no communication taking place between board members and parents, employers. Simple yes or no vote would be, if it gets on the agenda, it's yes, we can contact parents, employers as school board trustees, or no, we can't.
So you would like to move to add
A
a specific
Yes, no
discussion
question.
or action? item?
action item.
An action item.
So point of order, I actually have a question about that. So that's a policy change? Would
No,
we add it to our, but to allow or disallow something would be policy, is that correct, Mr. Johnson?
Yes, it would, and
Is there a
in-
process
in-
for that?
well, in listening to the proposed the proposal from Mr. Chaffee, there could be a lot of problems with that. Let's say, you know, an employer does business with a trustee. Now you're prohibiting that trustee from making the way it's worded. I think it's too broad. I think I know what you're getting at, but I think it needs to be filtered
And-
down, more specific than a trustee can't talk to an employer of somebody from.
And my
the school
understanding is that if one of us wants a policy change, addition, deletion, tweak, what have you, that process is initiated in writing to the superintendent and then goes through the policy.
Committee.
But that's just, but does the agenda, I'm not exactly sure what steps to take here.
Well, an initial step could be to have that question as it's narrowed down, have that issue sent to the policy committee for consideration. Because that's where it would go. It would come through the policy committee, and then we would have first reading and a second reading, and you'd either would approve it or not.
I might be able to clarify for everyone. If it were a resolution, we've done resolutions in the past.
Mhm.
If I were to make a motion on, I would like the board to put forth the directive for the next board meeting for a resolution to be drafted in regards to my request. Would that be permissible?
Mhm.
Okay, that's what I'll do. So can
Can I add something before you go on?
Yep.
Just make sure, I think the main thing here is that we don't want people from the school board contacting employers with the idea of someone losing their job unless it's a school board issue. You know, is that correct? Is that what you're looking at? In other words, it's not one person doing it on their own. In other
Well,
words,
that-
if the school board feels that something is going on and it needs to be addressed and the person's employer needs to be notified, that should be something that the school board decides, not just one person.
In my opinion, it shouldn't be the school board. For instance, if the police are involved, that should be something the police, you have certain intermediaries. I can't think of that word right now.
Intermediate.
Thank you. Intermediate, and I can't speak tonight. That word in place within the public to do those communications. So I will,
So what do you, just remind me, what's
I
the
will
motion?
do what Attorney Johnson, I'll correct myself. The motion tonight
Mhm.
is to agree that we will, if it were to get on the agenda, we will take action on, yes, we will draft a resolution in regards to what is and is not permissible contact with the parent's employer through the means of a resolution. We have other resolutions we currently have in place. So that's my motion.
Okay, give me 1 second. All right, so do I have a second to add to the agenda an action item to agree on to have a draft for a resolution that is on what is permissible to contact a parent's employer by the school board? Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Garrett, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. McCullough, how do you vote?
No, nay.
Ms. Sullivan, how do you vote? Nay. Mr. Chaffee, how do you vote?
Yes, aye.
And
Mrs. Roach, how do you vote?
No.
That additional request also gets denied by a vote of 3-2. Any other board members have any additions or changes to the agenda for Monday, December 11th, 2023 regular board meeting?
I would just, 1 point. Don't worry, third time's a charm. In regards to what Mr. Dallas said, I was not on the board during the January 6th situation, but if there was a letter in regards to that, I would like us to take a look on if it makes sense to do a similar thing, because that type of hate and rhetoric going on in society has no place at least in the America that I live in, and I think the majority of the public can agree with that. So
So are
I
you
would- I would hope-
moving something?
I'm just making that note, as that's, I think, a very important hot topic in the media today. So I would like the administration to take a look at that prior to the next meeting. So while it's on everyone's mind.
Thank you, Mr. Chaffee. Administration, do you have any additions or changes to the agenda for Monday, December 11th, 2023?
The administration has no changes.
All right, if not, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda for the Monday, December 11th, 2023 regular board meeting as presented?
I so move.
Second?
All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed vote nay. Motion carries by a vote of 5-0. Next agenda item is the approval of the minutes. Do board members have any additions or changes to the minutes from the November 27th, 2023 executive session or regular board meeting? Does the administration?
The administration has no changes.
If not, do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the November 27th, 2023 executive session and regular board meeting as presented?
I so move.
I second.
All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed vote nay. Motion carries by a vote of 5-0. Moving on to superintendent's recognitions and announcements. Before you start, Dr. Thacker, we do have a member of the community that would like to speak on this agenda item. Help me.
I'm gonna save that for hearing the visitors, so go ahead and cancel that.
Okay, so Mr. Dallas, thank you. He's off there. All right, Dr. Thacker, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vice President McCullough, Board of Trustees. Welcome, everyone. Happy holidays. We are delighted to welcome Sarah Mead as our new ambassador from Penn High School. So welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. Good evening, Dr. Thacker, Vice President McCullough, and fellow members of the board. My name is Sarah Mead, and I'm here tonight to share some awesome updates and achievements at Penn High School. So to start off with some athletic news, I'd like to make a couple of congratulations. Penn wrestler Ryan Schmiddendorf was awarded an IHSAA Sportsmanship Award, which recognizes students with a devoted sense of sportsmanship and a positive character. Also for boys wrestling, Penn's Vinnie Freeman was named MVP of the Elkhart Jim Nicholson Invitational. So congratulations to both of these students. They earned it. In addition, the Penn Swim and Dive team set 8 relay records at the past Munster Relays Championship while also defeating Munster. And furthermore, Penn's dance team competed in the Marion Invitational with senior duo Bella Bauer and Lily Weiss winning first place. Nice moves. So moving on to some epic fine arts news, Penn's debate team placed first in the Chesterton tournament, and this marks now 4 consecutive wins for the Kingsman debate team, exemplifying Penn excellence. Additionally, last week, Penn choir members performed their annual Sounds of the Season concert with a special appearance by Mr. Grinch himself, bringing joy to all that attended. Finally, in Kingsman Court news, last week was Penn's annual showcase to the prospective class of 2028. Kingsman Court representatives and executives worked together to give a warm welcome and amplify the numerous other student organizations here at Penn. And on top of that, last week the school-wide Toys for Tots donation drive ended, and Penn's annual month-long Giving Tree donation drive, which provides winter essentials for kids in need, will continue until the end of this week. Thank you, and that's all I have for you tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sarah, for all the wonderful updates, and it's good to have you back in here, and hope you have a great winter recess.
Thank you.
Look forward to your updates in January. That'll be quite some time and a lot of activities between then and now. All right, on to our next item, Dr. Thacker.
Thank you, Vice President McCullough, Board of Trustees. Last Friday night was so much fun. My wife and I had the privilege, along with several school board members, of being part of a ceremony at the Penn High School main arena, in which we recognized retired Penn Kingsman Hall of Fame coach for basketball, Al Rhodes. And the court was fittingly named Al Rhodes Kingsman Court. It was a great way to honor a legend of Penn's athletic program. Let's take a look.
We're here tonight to celebrate Coach Rhodes, obviously his amazing career.
Well, as we start looking at champions and people who are great role models, we want somebody who truly is a Kingsman and a champion, and that champion is Al Rhodes.
Whenever a coach receives an honor, it's a tribute to all of his players, all of his assistant coaches, his family.
Oh, I couldn't think of anyone more special than Al Rhodes.
Well, I can't tell you how thrilled I am for him and extremely deserving of this honor.
What he's done for basketball and the extent to how he teaches is just second to none.
His kids learn to play with heart and they believe in themselves, and Al has taught them that everyone can be a winner.
This project is a win-win. We're able to celebrate a legend, and the money donated also goes to support all 15 PHM schools.
It means a lot, right? It's a recognition of, 40-something years of tremendously hard work.
To be recognized like this, I can't say enough about how good it makes me feel.
Congratulations, Grandpa. Congratulations, Grandpa.
Ready.
Thank you, Dr. Thacker, for tonight's video. Excellence happens here. It was a great event. Good time catching up with some former coaches that we haven't seen in the building in quite some time. And congratulations again to Coach Rhodes. Just awesome evening for you.
Mr. McCullough, can I just add, because
Yeah.
this isn't the only time tonight that we'll be recognizing something that was representative of the generosity of Dr. Thacker and Mrs. Thacker. So thank you, Dr. and Mrs. Thacker, for making that donation and making that court named Al Rhodes Court.
Thank you. It's our pleasure. We're really honored to be able to participate in philanthropy. We love PHM, and we have so many outstanding people. And the more we can recognize excellence, the more likely we are to achieve excellence.
Awesome. All right, next up is the consent agenda. Dr. Thacker.
Thank you, Vice President McCullough and Board of Trustees. The administration recommends approval of the 11 items appearing on the consent agenda as presented.
Board members, do you have any questions regarding the December 11th, 2023 consent agenda?
Yes.
Mr. Chaffee.
This is question/request. 6.02. This is the final transfer we have for this year of $746,988 from the education fund, so direct student impact, which main portion of that pool of money goes to teachers' salaries, to the operations fund. So in total, it's just shy of $9 million this year. So I am requesting, it's a question as well, for follow-up prior to the January 8th, I believe is our next board meeting, where we have the Board of Finance. And I know we're going to be talking about this transfer. I'm requesting from the administration to be provided to all school board trustees, all admin total compensation, specifically broken out by individual employee, specifically those that are paid out of the operations fund. So not education fund salary team members, but operations fund salary team members. And not just their salary, but any other compensation. So for instance, if they get any type of allowance, bonus, usage of a car, want to understand that total package as a school board trustee to ensure we are properly utilizing the money from the states that we're given from the states, because in the end, the ultimate goal is to educate our students. So if we are to adopt a similar motion like this next year, for me to be able to support that next calendar year, I would like that information from our administration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chaffee. Board members, do you have any questions regarding any additional questions regarding the December 11th, 2023 consent agenda? Oh, no, I wouldn't ask you guys that. You would filter. Do I have a motion to approve the December 11th, 2023 consent agenda presented by Dr. Thacker?
I so move.
I second.
All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed vote nay. Motion carries by a vote of 5-0. Before we're moving on to our next agenda item, Dr. Thacker has some additional information to share. Dr. Thacker, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vice President McCullough. Board of Trustees, very excited to announce that we have a brand new safety agent at Grissom Middle School, Mr. Mike Ruppert, and I want to give a little information on him. He's an absolutely amazing professional. After graduating from Mishawaka High School, Mr. Donald, and it goes by Mike, Ruppert started his law enforcement career in 1993 with the Indiana State Police as a communications officer and liaison between the district post and local and national news organizations. Mike has been an officer with the St. Joseph County Police Department since January 1996 until his retirement in November 2023. He has served in the transportation, corrections, and road patrol divisions. In 2016, Mike was promoted to school resource officer for the Penn-Harris-Madison School Corporation. During his time as an SRO, Mike received his basic and advanced National Association of School Resource Officers certification and training. In his role as an SRO, Mike also served as his department as a detective. Mike was also employed by the University of Notre Dame Police Department and was in charge of parking and traffic. Mike received numerous awards and recognition as a police officer. These awards include multiple letters of appreciation and commendations, along with earning Officer of the Month numerous times. In 2016, Mike became one of 2 people in the state of Indiana to receive the Take Action Award from the Indiana State Suicide Prevention Conference for saving the lives with service beyond measure at the time. Now these are all special. Here's one that is highly unusual. One of the proudest moments as an officer happened when he helped deliver a baby on the bypass. Thank you, Mike.
A rainstorm.
Thank you. Okay, Mike and his wife Jill are proud parents of 2 Penn High School graduates who are currently attending college. Safety Agent Report will begin on December 11th at Grissom Middle School, also assist the elementary schools that feed into it. It's my pleasure to introduce our new safety agent at Grissom Middle School, Mr. Mike Ruppert.
Thank you very much. This is definitely a different angle. I'm usually either standing there or in the lobby. Miss Mead, by the way, you've got a future. You did a really good job up here. You're public speaking in your future. Dr. Thacker, Vice President Riley, Dr. Linsky, or McCall, sorry about that. It's easy to do. I didn't expect to be here. I wasn't really thinking about retiring or wasn't really prepared to do it. Born and raised a Mishawaka caveman. I was born and raised to dislike everything Penn. As everybody at Penn was born and raised to dislike everything at Mishawaka. I remember I grew up right over here behind Queen of Peace Church. I could have walked to Penn, but I went to Mishawaka. Usually about the end of July, first part of August, if the wind was blowing just right, Mom and Dad have a big field at the side of the house where that was our football field, our baseball field, that was our congregation area. Usually about that time you could start hearing the faint sound of a band. And you always knew that it was just about time to start thinking about getting ready for football and getting ready to start preparing yourself for school. And it was the Penn band. So I was raised listening to the Queen of Peace Church bells and the Penn marching band. And I always wondered what it would have been like to come to Penn High School and play for Coach Giesman. I played at Mishawaka, but that was always a thing to think about. Having the opportunity to come here and be involved in the PHM system, it's been absolutely incredible. When I was given the opportunity to become an SRO, I didn't think I wanted to do that. I'm a road cop. What am I going to do? I go to crashes and I go to burglaries and I do that type of stuff. What do I want to come to school for? It is absolutely the best decision I ever made in my entire life. The difficult decision includes leaving the kids that I got to develop relationships with at high school. I feel like Wickham up here crying. The people that I worked with at high school, the kids that I developed a relationship with, it's going to be difficult to leave them, but I'm excited. I'm here at PHM and I couldn't be happier. My two boys that are young men.
They crying?
No, but they're gonna. I'll hear about it later because I made fun of Wickham when Wickham came up here. Wickham cried when but couldn't be prouder of those 2 guys. They're proud Penn graduates. Wouldn't send my kids anywhere else. I don't care what anybody says. My kids would not go anywhere else but PHM. My wife, who I always joke that I'm a single parent raising 3 kids. Everybody that knows me know that it's reversed, and that she's a single parent raising 3 kids. So thank you very much. It's an honor, and I don't take this job lightly. This means a lot to me. And I hope that the decision was unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well done. You want to hang?
And we'll get a picture.
Try and smile, Raj. Don't break the camera.
Dr. Lindsay, you had some emotional characters.
I think it was a baby, the delivery of the baby, I think brought back all those emotions.
So, Mike,
That's the story we're gonna stick to.
I saw you and it just.
I do have a clarifying question. Do we still get to refer to Officer Reppert as Officer Reppert? What is?
Sure,
what is-
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
okay.
Hey, you usually works.
Congratulations again, Mike.
Thank you very much.
And you already know this a little bit. Once a Kingsman, always a Kingsman.
Absolutely 100% converted. I got all my Penn years. Both my boys were in sports at Penn, and I was out there yelling a lot. Let's go Penn.
With safety being the board's number one priority, it's amazing to have people like you jump aboard. So we'll now move on to the instructional report for this evening. Dr. Thacker.
Thank you, Vice President McCullough and Board of Trustees. We really have an amazing fine arts department, one of the finest in the entire country. And tonight, Dr. Haley Shore is going to introduce this next agenda item for us.
Thank you, Dr. Thacker, Vice President McCullough, members of the board. It's my pleasure to welcome Glenn Northern, who is here with us tonight. He is the Fine Arts and Communications Academy leader, and he has a lot of fabulous highlights to share with us. Oh, Mr. Parker, are you actually announcing Mr. Northern? Did I jump in on that?
Chance I can get in front, yes.
Okay, well, please come in. I will hand the floor to you.
Dr. Thacker, Mr. McCullough, members of the board, thank you for having me tonight. I will gladly introduce Mr. Northern in our Fine Arts Academy. Did anybody get to go to the choir concert last week?
I'm going to Tis the Season. on
Amazing.
Wednesday.
All right. Every year I go, Mr. Nemeth is a sight to see with his velvet red jacket and velvet red shoes. I love going to see those every year. We have amazing programs, like Dr. Short was saying, in our Fine Arts Department. So I'm going to let Mr. Northern kind of share a little bit with what's going on this year.
Dr. Thacker, Vice President McCullough, members of the board, thank you for allowing me to be here tonight and share some information with you. I'll start with our enrollment in data for fine arts. Right now we have just over 1,900 students participating in about 47 different courses at Penn, taught by 23 faculty and staff. Our Penn Orchestra is getting ready for their Tis the Season concert this week, and that's why I don't have any students with me tonight, because all the students I would have invited are in the middle of rehearsal right now. So they have their concert on Wednesday night of this week. We also have 3 members that are about to perform in the All-State Orchestra, which will be in Fort Wayne in January as part of the Indiana Music Educators Conference. Penn Theater recently finished their fall production of The Hollow by Agatha Christie. They're currently getting underway for their rehearsals and auditions for the musical, which will be The Music Man, and that'll open in very late February and early March. Penn Choir just performed their holiday concerts. Something else about the choir you may or may not remember was this past spring, our concert choir placed into the ISMA State Concert Finals for the first time since 1999. And then a week later, they placed 15th at the Indiana Concert Finals at Pike High School. Oh, sorry. We have 9 members that are about to perform next month in the All-State Choir. And of course, this past weekend was our Sounds of the Season performances. The Penn Band last spring placed 10 students into the Indiana All-State Bands. Our jazz ensemble placed in the state finals for the 3rd time in the last 5 years. Our winter guard placed 4th, and the open class varsity winter guard placed 4th in the open class state finals. And our Symphonic Winds, our top concert band, placed 6th at the Indiana State Concert Finals in May. And then this past fall, the Marching Kingsmen placed 12th at the ISMA semi-state competition. Our Penn dance students are getting ready for their dance choreography recital on Wednesday, December 20th. And of course, all of our Penn dance students performed in the Dance Classic in May of this past year. Our visual arts students recently completed a exhibit in conjunction with our fall theater production, The Hollow. And we've also expanded our curriculum next year to include a jewelry making class, which is kind of new for us. And under what's new, you may have seen, if you've been through the building, our renovated art rooms. All the art rooms this year got complete overhauls. They were gutted with new paint, new ceilings, new floors, new cabinetry, and new furniture. And the art rooms really look great. If you've not been there to see them, we invite you to come and check those out. The Studio Theater received a facelift that included new lighting, new seating, new floor, and new curtains. And the modular seating is really nice. The choir room was renovated this year. The biggest change there was if you can remember, it was a tiered floor, and we actually leveled the floor and then put what we call seated risers into the room, which gives us flexibility now to still perform as a seated riser configuration, which would be normal for rehearsals, but also to have a flat floor configuration in that room, which makes it a little more accessible for other ensembles. And then you might know this, but in 2023, PHM was once again named a Best Communities in Music Education by the National Association of Music Merchants. This is about the 12th year in a row, I think, that we've received that designation. And that designation is decided by characteristics such as administrative support, scheduling for students, like how many hours of fine arts coursework a student has in a week, number of staff, the education of those staff. Those are all the considerations that NAM considers when they're looking at whether to give that designation to a school, corporation, or a community. And other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Board members, do you have any questions or comments for Mr. Norman?
I would like to say, I think I'm sitting here and I think our kids all together have taken 12 years of fine arts classes at Penn High School. So I can attest to a lot of great things happen in the fine arts department, all categories of the fine arts department. And a lot of that is to your leadership. I think you do a great job.
Well, it's a really good
with
team.
this department.
Thanks.
You're a great leader and there's great things happening, not just what you see, but what you hear as a parent when they come home. Thank you for that.
Thanks.
Mr. North, and I just want to add that you've heard me say it before. You're giving these students really lifelong skills.
Yes.
That's the beautiful thing for me as parents of musicians, to see how their instruments can be forms of relaxation, give to the community, etc. I also want you to know that, I mean, it's not just because we love you, right? Because we love Penn Fine Arts.
No, it can't be that.
This track record of excellence has won a lot of advocates from the school board. So as we talk about things like the expansion of the field house, part of that is to try and create more space within Penn High School for expansions of other academic things that we know we need to expand. So I just want to make sure that you know that has definitely been on the topic,
Absolutely.
a topic of discussion really for a year plus at this point.
I'm very aware of that. I've had conversation with enough administrators to know that we are on, quote, the way I put it is being on everyone's radar as far as the needs that are coming up for us. And Penn's a great school. It's a great facility, but it's an old enough facility now where we've outgrown some parts of the building, and certainly there's needs coming in. And I think our administration is real thoughtful to that and real cognizant of what that's going to take, and making those things, getting those things to start to be in place for a continuation. Thanks. And we know that a fine arts education, the term I'll use is rewires a child's brain. Children in music and in art think differently. They function differently because of the way
their brains work when they're performing. And that changes the way they learn. We know that has value all across our curriculum, and I appreciate that our administration understands and supports that. And you talk about tradition. So much tradition about what we do. When you look at the Penn choirs or the Penn bands, there's a lot of tradition there. And there's a lot of our community members who grew up in our programs, and now their children are there. And we don't take that responsibility lightly when a parent entrusts their children to us. We want to honor that.
I would just like to add kudos to you and those that came before you. I remember not too long ago, growing up in this community, going to football games, and one of my fond memories of the football games was the halftime performance from the Marching Kingsmen. So it's definitely one of the memories I have whenever I look back at my childhood growing up in this district. So just kudos to you for all the work going on in the Fine Arts Academy. It's pretty impressive, and that's saying it very lightly. A couple questions I have is in regards to, I'm just curious, one of the first slides, you said we have about a little over 1,900 students currently in all of Fine Arts. How does that, and you might not have the numbers here today, and that's okay if you don't, maybe report back to us, but I'd be curious to know how that stacks up to prior years, maybe the past 5 years, past 10 years. As an administration board, are we giving you the full runway? Is there certain ways we can improve to make sure we're continuing to grow the Fine Arts Academy? And then secondly, with this, how is the outreach in regards to tying, not just at the middle school level, but also at the elementary level, kids being involved in extracurriculars? I think everyone here would agree, regardless of the extracurricular, they're going to be more set up to be successful in life. So the more extracurriculars we can have our children involved in, the better. So a little bit of a long-winded question, but
no, it makes perfect sense. We're actually, when I was looking at my presentation from a year ago, and we were down about 100 students in fine arts classes from last year. And I really attribute that. And there's certain things about that, like that doesn't tell the whole story. For example, orchestra numbers are up significantly right now from where they were. Some programs are down. Fine art, visual art is slightly down. Theater's up. Band is a little up, choir's a little down, and those are not trends, more that just the difference of last year. Our numbers generally hold pretty steady. That 1,900 number is about the lowest I can recall, and I really attribute that to the number of courses that we offer at Penn. Especially for a school that has the Achievement Academy structure that we do. I always feel like we offer, and that was one of the things we talked about a dozen years ago when the Achievement Academy structure came, was most schools that were doing it were narrowing down their course offerings. And we looked at that, we kind of thought about it, and then we didn't do it because we felt like we offered so many great classes. And I really believe that, and a student has so many options of what they do at Penn. So it really comes down to, we're really competing for students, like, especially I think about like areas like the STEM Academy versus fine arts. There are a lot of students that are doing both. We have a lot of STEM Academy students who actually would consider themselves STEM Academy members, but are still taking a fine arts class. So there's lots of that. And that's one of the great things that I love that we do, that we don't require. When our Achievement Academy structure first started, there was a tendency with some teachers to try to monopolize a student schedule so that they would be only in this academy. And a few of us right away realized that was going to be a tough way to go. And there were clearly going to become losers and winners in that. And so we really came pretty quickly to agree, let's not create so much coursework in an academy structure that creates such a commitment from a student to be part of the Fine Arts Academy or the STEM Academy, and still let them do other things at Penn, to let a teenager be a teenager. And so that's really what we're doing. And I feel like if we're losing students, it's because of that. And I talk to our staff a lot about the idea that we're always recruiting every day, and trying to, each year is a new battle in terms of trying to keep ourselves relevant. But with just so many options, it's not surprising that the numbers would fluctuate a little bit. Reaching out at the middle schools and the elementaries is also challenging, because it's hard to, a lot of programs at Penn are reaching out to those audiences. And and understandably, the middle school faculty, I think, get possessive of their time. The elementary principals get possessive of their time to the point where they don't want too many people coming in to promote this or that. They're not against it. They're just trying to protect the instructional time, which I completely understand. So that's always tricky is trying to walk a line of trying to do some outreach, but not be too pushy and try to balance that with offering opportunities without trying to, I don't know, run people over or advocate too strongly in a way that might offend or take up too much time, or more than our share of time.
I appreciate that. I guess speaking to that second part, is there a way maybe the administration could look at maybe potentially mending some of those bridges to create more avenues, to create more pathways between the high school and the middle schools and elementaries? I think the more we're synced, one message, one goal, one school community, I think the better.
One heartbeat.
Yeah, amen. I like that.
And I will say that we never feel resistance from it from the middle schools or the elementaries. They're just really looking out for, especially with the testing mandates and all the instructional goals that we have for our students, trying to make sure that they're not that time is protected.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
I would just add on that front, what I've observed that's done really well, especially within the music programs, is I think you've placed Penn students as assistants for our middle school bands. Is that right? Because there were Penn students at the Schmucker.
We have a lot of students that will cadet teach, for example, in our middle school programs, and there's a lot of communication, and really part of that is just because our staff, especially I've had this conversation with Dr. Linsky this summer where we were just talking about something else, and I made the comment that I feel like the instrumental music staff, orchestra and band is probably the tightest knit PLC within PHM. And part of that is just, it's a silly thing, but the marching band brings us together because all the middle school staff help with the marching band. So we have hours together a week in the fall where we're really working with this one group, but really what we're doing is talking about 6th grade band or 7th grade orchestra, or there's so much planning and thought that goes in that our team really could not be any tighter and couldn't take better care of each other. And then those, the things with the high school students coming into those programs is all kind of becomes a byproduct of that.
It's obvious. You go to a middle school band concert or orchestra concert.
Yes.
All that not by accident sort of
When you
planning
see those middle school orchestras and band or middle school orchestras and bands, it's no wonder the high school orchestras and bands are doing what they're doing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
I was just going to say that if you need idea on how to recruit middle school, if your prep is during lunch, take some of your kids over and march around during lunch period. I used to do that recruiting for golf, and it worked pretty well.
That's right. Lunch periods is a good opportunity.
Good secret. Good secret. Well, thank you, Mr. Northern, for the wonderful presentation. Your one last year, I learned a lot, and this one just keeps impressing the group and the board, and we're so proud of this academy and this department. So keep up the great work.
Thank you so much.
Your team, we greatly appreciate it.
I sure will. Thank you all very much.
Good job.
All right, moving on to our business action items for the evening. Dr. Thacker.
Thank you, Vice President McCullough and Board of Trustees. Our Chief Operating Officer, Dr. Aaron Linsky, will present our first business action item for this evening with a request for approval of classroom technology improvements at Penn High School. Dr. Linsky.
Thank you, Dr. Thacker. Good evening, Vice President McCullough and members of the board. You were provided all the information you need for this action item this evening. These are for upgraded projectors, which certainly serve as an important tool in all of our classrooms. Moving towards short throw projectors instead of throwing the video across the entire screen. These are all going to be wired to the wall, so much higher quality, and we're just at the end of life. Some major benefits are less maintenance, some items like lifetime bulbs, things that are just great upgrades. I think the last major shift was probably 10 years ago. So we try to keep these on a rotation. It's just time for Penn High School. So that's what we're requesting this evening.
Can you remind me, what do we do with the equipment that's obsolete? So I know we approve occasional.
Sure. Sure. I have not talked to Mr. Habke about that. A lot of times, because we're still servicing so many, every classroom has a projector in Penn-Harris-Madison. So a lot of times, those at the high school that still have life, we will continue to use, and we'll actually replace any of the middle school or elementaries that would be at, towards their end of life, or, obviously things do fail. So we'll use those. Anything else, he'll work with a third party that would come in and either A, recycle it, or B, resell it. But typically, if we're replacing all of Penn High School, there's a lot of projectors there, and we'll have a good catch to help keep everything else until their cycle comes up for replacement. Great question.
When are these, when is this like timeline? Or
Yeah, the goal is we're going to order them now, and then the goal would be as soon as they start coming in. This is a project that in some cases can begin during the school year, and so the goal would be to have these all installed prior to the start of next school year.
And we'll implement them as they come in. So say 5 show up, we'll start.
If we can, because we're rewiring the rooms, they'll obviously choose some rooms that they can get done. So we'll work with the vendor, and obviously the vendor likes projects that they can do right after the school day and prior to summer when they hit the big rush. So as long as we can get the parts, and we'll certainly begin installation. Great question.
Board members, any further questions? Do I have a motion to approve the purchase and relocation of replacement projectors at Penn High School from Luma Audio and Video for a total cost of $465,150.37 as presented?
I so move. A second.
All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed vote nay. Motion carries by a vote of 5-0. Thank you, Dr. Linsky. Moving on to our second business action item this evening, Dr. Thacker.
Thank you, Vice President McCullough, Board of Trustees. Dr. Linsky is going to continue with our second business action item this evening with a request for approval of improvements to our DVT planetarium at Bittersweet Elementary School. Dr. Linsky.
Thank you, Dr. Thacker. 3 items that we're looking to replace. There are multiple projectors in that facility that we're looking to upgrade. We're looking to upgrade a computer server, and then there's some software that is just, again, time to upgrade. This is the vendor that will do these, is the vendor that services our equipment. So we've been in consultation with them in terms of the timeline. I don't know the exact timeline of when these would be installed. I would assume they would be the same thing. As soon as they can get the equipment, looking at the planetarium schedule, we certainly don't want to disrupt the great programs that are happening there. But we're excited about the upgrade and what that will mean for not only our students, but also our community.
Board, any questions for Dr. Linsky on the PHM planetarium improvements? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the improvements to the PHM DVT planetarium at Bittersweet Elementary through Evans and Sutherland for a total cost of $156,590 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed vote nay. Motion carries by a vote of 5-0. Thank you again, Dr. Linsky. Moving on to our third and final business action of the evening, Dr. Thacker.
Thank you, Vice President McCullough and Board of Trustees. This evening, we bring to the board 10 revised policies, 1 bylaw replacement, 4 policy replacements, and 2 new policies to consider for action. These 17 bylaws and policies were first presented to the board at the November 27th board meeting for discussion and review by Board Attorney, Mr. Jeff Johnson. Mr. Johnson will present the 17 bylaws and policies to the board for adoption tonight. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Dr. Thacker and Vice President McCullough, members of the board. As Dr. Thacker indicated, there are proposed revisions to 17 policies and bylaws consisting of 10 policy revisions, 1 bylaw revision, 4 policy replacements, and 2 new policies that are scheduled for a second reading this evening. We have received no inquiries since the first reading on November the 27th. However, I would like to highlight policy 3362.01, which we are revising and adopting this evening. Pursuant to Indiana law, Code Section 20.33.9.10, excuse me, if an individual has reason to believe that a school employee has been threatened or is the victim of intimidation or is the victim of harassment, that individual shall, and I emphasize shall, pursuant to Indiana Code 20:33:9:13, report that information to local law enforcement. The duty to report is not discretionary. Rather, under Indiana law, it is mandatory. And this fits with the PHM policy that safety is our #1 priority. So I'd be happy to address any questions anyone may have at this time.
Board members, any questions for Mr. Johnson? Okay, hearing none, bear with me. Hearing none, do I have a motion to adopt replacement bylaw 0142.3, vacancies and appointments of board members, replacement policies 3215, 4215, 5512, tobacco use prevention and replacement policy, tobacco use prevention, and also replacement policy 7434, use of tobacco on school property. Revised policy 2510, adoption of curricular materials. Revised policy 2520, selection of curricular materials, library materials, and equipment. Revised policy 3220.01, teacher appreciation grants. Revised policy 3362.01, threatening and/or intimidating behavior towards staff members. Revised policy 4120, employment and support staff. Revised policy 4425, nursing mothers, and new policies 1425 and 3425, nursing mothers. Revised policy 5330, the use of medication. Revised policy 5710, student complaints. Revised policy 6152, student fees and charges. And finally, revised policy 9130, complaints and concerns as presented.
I so move.
Second.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed vote nay. Motion carries by a vote of 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. We will now move on to hearing of visitors. We don't have any pre-signed up for, oh, because Ben wants to move that. So we do have one person that signed up, so we'll get to Mr. Dallas first. Please keep in mind my statement on expected decorum for this portion of tonight's meeting. We will now open the floor to Mr. Dallas.
Good evening once again. As you said, my name is Mr. Dallas. I was going to speak earlier on the excellence happens here portion, but I didn't want to be a Debbie Downer at the time. You were, putting out a lot of positive stuff, and figured I'd let y'all speak. But I do want to question some of the excellence that happens here, if you don't mind. According to your favorite school ranking source, that's U.S. World News Reports, they have Penn High School ranked at 22 in the state. 22 in the state. That's a new ranking. I think it came out this year. Indiana is ranked 29 in the nation as a state. So, is that really excellence? I think the ranking had gone down. I think it was good in previous years. So is that, my question is that excellence? According to some of your own data that's on the PHM website, the difference between some of the top performing schools and some of the lower performing schools is about a 60% achievement gap. I know this was brought up before, and the way this has been handled is it's basically been ignored, right? It's been ignored. We've seen some cherry pick data about some of our top performing schools. We repeat that a lot on auto repeat. I get it. But it's basically the achievement gap has kind of been ignored. It's even been called misinformation. The problem is we get the data from the PHM website. So it can't be misinformation if it's on the PHM website, I would think. I would assume at least. So anyways, I instead of ignoring our problems, why not be like Mr. Chaffee every meeting, energetically? He's confronting our problems. Let's confront some of these problems head on. Mr. Garrett, too. We appreciate you. You guys are confronting problems. Let's not call things misinformation. And if it is, let's explain it. Let's bring the receipts and explain why it's misinformation. Thank you for the time. So, anyways, is allowing other things that I don't consider excellent that I want to bring up is allowing an employee to openly post inappropriate sexual content on social media and continue to do so as a paid employee. Is that excellence? I don't think it is. Maybe you do. Is remaining unranked by the Indiana Department of Education as far as being a family-friendly school. Is that excellence? Because we're unranked by the Indiana Department of Education. I would think being a family-friendly school would be important. So the way I see it, we have one of two choices as a community. We continue to bury our heads in the sand, label verifiable facts as misinformation, while highlighting irrelevant topics and using them simply as fluff to present this image of positivity and success that isn't there. Or we can get new leadership in the future in the mold of Jim Garrett, Matt Chaffee, people who honestly acknowledge our challenges, present solutions, listen to the community. Thank you. I was about done anyways.
Thank you, Mr. Dallas. Anyone else in the community who would like to address the board tonight?
Roderick Powell, 1128 Arbor Lane, just like last month. I was sitting back there with another Penn parent, and Mr. Chafee made all his motions at the beginning of the meeting. They were all voted down. The parent next to me asked, and I'm going to ask you, what do you have to hide? What is the big secret out here? That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. Anyone else like to address the board?
I recently had an area pastor approach me and said, when does this stop? Because a PHM teacher had asked him the same question. I proceeded to remind him that if parents would not have brought concerns to you 3 years ago, it is highly possible that PHM would look very different. It is quite possible that students would have been segregated by color according to a professional development lesson with the true intention to dehumanize white people. At the very least, the staff would have come away from the lesson that every white person is racist and it's the core of who they are. It is possible there would still be a secret, illegal SAC committee creating these lessons, which seems to be a common core of PHM to be secretive and non-transparent. I still have a hard time understanding why any of you would want to hide something you truly believe in. There would still be SEL lessons for teachers and staff on how to implement discriminatory teaching such as anti-racism, microaggressions, etc. Maybe the money that would have been spent on teachers and staff should have been spent on the board, because you seem to be the ones that have the most trouble with microaggressions, bullying, and anti-implicit bias. There would still be the illegal STEM camp from Notre Dame that violated the federal civil rights law and the attendance of a local museum that demonizes the white race. PHM would still offer this camp because they're the beacon of authority seems to come from Notre Dame, but not Catholicism. They, the professors and others, are the only ones that can speak freely anytime they come here, because they are part of the elite culture that runs at the core of PHM. The Real Triangle, Notre Dame, teachers, and staff. There could be possibly female students would have their private areas invaded. Thacker's racist scholarship would have never been questioned. English classes exposing young minds, and yes, some young minds just aren't ready for things such as masturbation, especially not without parental consent. Vaccination would have been a tyrannical absolute for sport participation. You did allow it to segregate students. Illegal invasive surveys would still be forced upon students without parental consent, which are also illegal. I could go on and on. Us parents, we definitely have more successes than you as a board. We can all conclude that the resolution of eradicating racism is doing the complete opposite. DEI devalues people and reduces them only to be seen as color and definitely not inclusive. The true problem of PHM is socioeconomic favoritism and elitism. Talk to anybody outside of PHM and they will tell you this glaring issue. Self-awareness is a necessary skill to be successful, and you need to learn it. It is time for all of you to sit down in your own restorative circle, just as you force our students to. It's time for repentance and forgiveness. That's when this stops.
Thank you, Ms. Leader. Anyone else like to address the board?
Mr. Thacker, Mr. McCullough, board members. Stephen Whitmer, Eastview Drive, Osceola, Indiana. My question is why? The political prosecution of a parent by a few individuals of the school board for nothing more than a meme on Facebook. Board member Chris Riley threatened board member Matt Chaffee with a felony charge for simply questioning the political investigation of a PHM parent, Ben Dallas. A majority of the PHM board members voted against a resolution of an Indiana Department of Education memorandum condemning the teaching of critical race theory and its tenets on 5/23/23. Again, I ask why. And this evening with Mr. Chaffee's motions and the vote, there's no admitting there could possibly be any wrongdoing. And again, I ask why. Why would you vote this down? Why would you not, excuse me, getting over a cold. Why would you not want to investigate what's going on? I am appalled with the result of the board vote tonight investigating the above issues. Thank you.
Mr. Whitmer. Anyone else like to address the board?
Laura Zensky, Day Road in Mishawaka. I just wanted to make another point here to what Mr. Dallas had said about a letter out to condemn the anti-Semitism that is showing up in pockets around the United States after the horrific attack in October in Israel. I wanted to point out that on the March 22nd board meeting in 2021, Dr. Thacker also wanted to make on a statement. They said, we want to state publicly that we stand to support our Asian American students, staff, and families. In recent weeks, the number of abhorrent violent attacks against Asian American communities has grown, including the shootings in Atlanta last Tuesday. You also, in your resolution, said the district would strive to not just be against racism, but you become anti-racist. You were going to openly condemn any and all forms of hate and violence against all races and cultures, and you have been silent. I'm not saying those things are happening here at Penn, but these were your words. You said you were going to openly condemn all acts of hate and violence. And when you wrote that, and when you did that, I did contact the school. I said, well, how do you determine that? Who makes that decision? Why is this considered hate and violence that you condemn, but over here, we're going to ignore it and not say anything? And so I'm very curious as to why nothing has been said about some of the anti-Semitism attacks. Just recently, we had a college in the United States where Jewish students had to barricade themselves because they felt unsafe because of the protests that were getting out of hand. We just had elite universities testify, and the things they said were terrible. I would hope that Penn can come out and support our Jewish students and our Palestinian students, and we can come together and try to show support for each group as a Penn community. And I look forward to you saying something, Dr. Thacker. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rosinski. Anyone else want to address the board? All right, moving on to board reports and requests. Do board members have any reports or requests to make at this time?
Yes.
Mr. Chaffee, I recognize the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'd just like to circle back to the start of the meeting tonight, where I tried to make two motions. I'm going to focus mainly on the first motion in regards to a parent that had been banned from all school property, couldn't even attend his son's basketball games for pretty much the whole season. disheartening to say the least. And I'm just going to again ask the community, those here tonight, those watching online, those that will watch online in the future after tonight, whether that's later tonight or, I mean, tomorrow, you get where I'm going. Why would Miss Sullivan, Mrs. Roach, and Mr. McCullough vote no to wanting to know those answers? A parent was banned for almost 3 months. Investigation was closed on October 5th. Magically, a new investigation reopened a couple weeks later. That parent remained banned while that investigation continued. Finally, a few days ago, it was closed. Closed. No other updates. No trespass order rescinded the following day. Parent is now allowed back on PHM property. He's allowed to be here tonight. He's allowed to pick up his kids from school and take them to school. No other information provided to us board members, at least to me. I at least haven't received any other information. I can't speak for any other board member, but what I will ask to them, just like other parents have asked tonight, and what I asked earlier, and what I would hope every single community member would want to know, regardless of your viewpoint of that parent, is why was the investigation reopened? What happened? What happened? Why wouldn't you want to know those answers? Is it because you already know them? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chaffee. Any other board members have reports or requests to make? All right, we'll move on to announcements. Penn-Harris-Madison schools will be closed for winter recess from Monday, December 25th, 2023 through Friday, January 5th, 2024. School resumes on Monday, January 8th, 2024. The annual Board of Finance meeting of the Penn-Harris-Madison Board of School Trustees will convene on Monday, January 8th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. right here at the ESC. The regular meeting will follow at 7 p.m. on January 8th. This meeting also serves as the board's reorganizational meeting. On behalf of the school board and administration, I'd like to take this opportunity to wish everyone a happy Hanukkah, happy holidays, and a safe and wonderful New Year. Merry Christmas. Do I have a motion to adjourn the December 11th, 2023 regular meeting at the Penn-Harris-Madison? Yeah, one more vote.
Get me out of here,
Meeting
man.
the Penn-Harris-Madison Board of School Trustees.
I so move.
I second.
All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed vote nay. Motion carries by a vote of 5-0. Meeting adjourned at 8:24 p.m.
Thank you.